Good morning, students. Welcome to the online classes for standard 12th in physics. Last class I discussed some of the questions from your NCERT textbook. I'll continue that class with some more questions from the additional exercise given in the textbook. So I'll begin with additional exercises. The first question 2.12. A charge of 8 millicoulomb is located at the origin. Calculate the work done in taking a small charge of minus 2 into 10 to the power minus 9 coulomb from point P to point Q via point R, where coordinates of points P, Q and R are given in the question. So see students, whenever we take a charge from some point which is initial to some point which is final, the work done is given by the formula work done is equal to charge times potential difference. Okay, now this potential difference is final minus initial potential. So which is final point? Q, and which is initial point? P. So this is the working formula for this particular question. So which charge we are bringing? We are bringing minus 2 into 10 to the power minus 9 coulomb. So we know Q. We need to find potentials at points P and Q. Now at these points the potential is due to whom? The potentials are due to this charge capital Q of 8 millicoulomb. So let's find what is Vp and what is Vq. So how do you find Vp? You know students, formula for potential is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught times charge, the charge is capital Q, upon R. R is the distance of the point from the charge. We are finding potential at point P. Point P has a dimension 0, has coordinates 0, 0, 3 centimeter. So it lies on Z axis at a distance of 3 centimeter from origin. This charge is placed at origin 0, 0, 0. So what is the distance between the origin and this point? It is 3 centimeter. So Q by R, R of P. So this Rp is how much? 3 centimeter means 3 into 10 to the power minus 2 meters. Likewise, what is Vq? This is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon distance of point Q. Now what is point Q? 0, 4, 0. So it is on which axis? Y axis. And what is its distance from origin? 4 centimeter. So Rq is 4 into 10 to the power minus 2 meters. Now why is this given? See students, it is given we have to go from point P to point Q via this point. But you know that electrostatic forces are conservative. So if we have to go from point P to point Q carrying some charge Q, this work done will be independent of the path. You must mention this statement, that work done by electric field or work done against electrical forces in carrying a charge from one point to another is independent of the path. Why? Because electrostatic forces are conservative in nature. So whether we go from this along this path or this path or this path, in all the cases work done will be same. So whether we go through R or we go directly from P to Q does not matter. So what we need are the initial point and the final point, and not any point in the path. That's why this is immaterial. Any point they give, that will not come into our answer. Now using this formula, you will calculate Vp, you will calculate Vq. I will not solve the question. You will put the values of Vp and Vq in this expression, put a small q, you will get the answer for work done. Okay, let's see next question. 2.13, this question reads like this: a cube of side B has charge small q at each of its vertices. So at all the 8 vertices it has a charge small q. Find the potential and electric field due to this charge array at the center of the cube. So suppose center of the cube is somewhere over here, that I call as suppose G. So at the center G, we have to find potential and electric field. First we will find potential at the center, that is at point G. Now potential is a scalar quantity. So potential at the center is sum of potentials due to all the individual charges. Now all those charges are at same distance from G. Therefore I can multiply 8 to the potential at G due to any one charge. Now potential at G due to any one charge, you know students, it is given by the formula 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, that charge Q by distance of the center from the vertex. Now what is R? R is the distance of center from the vertex, any one vertex. What is the diagonal of a cube? You know it is root 3a, root 3b in this case. So if this is b, this will become root 2b, the diagonal of the base. Now this is root 2b, this is b. So this and the diagonal of the cube, that forms right angle triangle. So the diagonal square will be root 2b square plus b square, that is 3b square. So you take square root, it becomes root 3b. So R will be half the diagonal. Diagonal is this point, this distance from O to F or from D to B, like that. And half of that will be root 3b by 2. So this value you have to put here, and then that is the potential due to one charge. If you multiply by 8, you will get potential due to all the charge and the entire charge distribution. Next is electric field. Should we multiply the expression for electric field by 8? No. Why? You concentrate on two charges which are diagonally opposite to one another. For example, charges at O and F. OF is one of the diagonals. Due to O at G, the electric field will be in this direction. And due to F, the electric field at G will be in opposite direction. So these two fields will cancel. The same analogy, by using same analogy, we can say that electric fields due to G and charge Q at A, they will cancel. C, the charge at C and the charge at E, their electric field at the center will cancel each other. Likewise all. So there are 8 charges, there are 4 diagonals. On each of the 4 diagonals, the opposite charges, they will have electric field in opposite direction, and because of this reason the net electric field at the center will be how much? It will be 0. I hope you can write the reasoning yourself. You should do it on your own. We have an interesting question, 2.15. It has 2 bits A and B, but I will be discussing only question A. The question is like this: a spherical conducting cell of inner radii R1 and outer radius R2. It has charge Q. Now since it is a conducting cell, we know conductors, they have a property that charges will reside only on the outer surface of the conductor. So this charge Q will be distributed uniformly on its outer surface. So bit A, the question is like this: a charge small q is placed at the center of the cell. What is the surface charge density sigma on the inner and outer surfaces of the cell? See, this total charge on the cell is given to be how much? Q. Because of this small charge Q at the center, the free electrons in these conductors, they will experience some force, and because of that there will be some distribution of electrons. Some charge will appear on the inner surface. That charge I write as suppose Q dash. So out of Q, if Q dash appears on the inner surface, how much will remain? Q minus Q dash will remain on the outer surface. Let me repeat again. The total charge was capital Q. Out of Q, because of this charge Q at the center, small q, some charge, say Q dash, we don't know how much it is, we will find it out. So Q dash appears on the inner surface of the cell. Out of Q, if Q dash appears here, the remaining charge, that is Q minus Q dash, will appear over the outer surface. The sum of these two you can see, q dash and q dash will cancel. That will be equal to capital Q, which is the total charge on the cell. So our task is now to find q dash. Once you know q dash, we can easily find sigma. To find q dash, we'll use Gauss law. We'll draw a Gaussian surface in the form of a sphere. All the points of which will lie inside the conducting cell. And this Gaussian surface has same center, that is O. So we'll apply Gauss law through this on this Gaussian surface. Integral E dot ds is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times q in. Now we know, students, that inside the conductor, in this region, the electric field is how much? 0. That is the property of electric field inside the conductor. That is the property of conductor, that inside the conductor, any conductor, in static situation, the electric field is 0. So if E is 0, the entire term in left hand side becomes 0. So 1 by epsilon naught times q in becomes 0. Therefore q in must be equal to how much? 0. So q in is the charge inside the Gaussian surface. Inside the Gaussian surface, here we have charge q and we have charge q dash distributed uniformly on the inner surface. So q plus q dash is equal to 0, and this gives us the value of q dash as how much? Minus q. So if q dash is equal to minus q, the charge on the outer surface, this will become how much? Q minus q dash. Minus q dash means minus of minus q, that is plus q. Therefore our charge configuration will be like this. If we have charge q at the center, on the inner surface there will be charge of minus q, and on the outer surface there will be q plus q. Therefore surface charge density on the inner sphere, on the inner surface, sigma inner, will be charge is how much? Minus q upon this area. What is this surface area? 4 pi radius square. Inner radius is how much? R1. So that is the answer. Likewise on the outer surface, sigma outer, so this was inner, sigma outer will be charge is how much? Q plus small q and divided by outer surface area, that is 4 pi times R2 square. Is it clear, students? So that is the solution to this particular question. Let's next see question 2.17. Let me read the question for you. A long charged cylinder of linear charged density lambda. So this is the long charged cylinder, is surrounded by a hollow coaxial. Coaxial means this hollow cylinder and this original cylinder, they have same axis. And this hollow coaxial cylinder is conducting one. What is the electric field in the space between the two cylinders? So in this region over here, we have to find the value of electric field. So we'll use Gauss law. Suppose we have to find electric field at this point. So we'll construct a Gaussian surface in the form of cylinder passing through that point. And suppose this point is at a distance small r from the axis. So this is our Gaussian surface, and its length we will assume as small l. Now we will use the concept of symmetry. You have to invoke the concept of symmetry. By symmetry at all the points on the Gaussian surface, on the curved surface, the electric field will have same value and it will be directed like so. So electric field and area vector, that is ds vector, will be in same direction on the lateral surface. So suppose the two bases, this I will call as 1, this I will call as 2, and the curved surface I will call as 3. So we will use Gauss law. So integral E dot ds, we know it's equal to 1 by epsilon naught times q in. Now integral E dot ds, I can divide it into three parts. This will be integral E dot ds over region 1 plus integral E dot ds over region 2 plus integral E dot ds over region 3. And in RHS, we'll have 1 by epsilon naught times q in. Q in is the charge inside the Gaussian surface. So in this much portion, whatever charge is present, that is present inside the Gaussian surface. Now linear charge density lambda, it is given in the question. So lambda, you know, it is charge per unit length. So charge will be lambda into length. So q in will be lambda times length of this part of the cylinder, that is small l. In region 1 and region 2, the electric field vector will be perpendicular to ds vector, and therefore the dot products will be 0. So the only contribution will be from region 3. So that part E and ds vector are in same direction, so it becomes E into ds into cos 0. Cos 0 will become 1. And because E is constant at all points, E will come out of the integral. We will be left with E into integral ds. And this will be how much? 1 by epsilon naught times lambda times L. Now what is integral ds? Integral ds will be the curved surface area of the cylinder, that is 2 pi radius times L. And therefore electric field will be how much? You see L and L will cancel. We will be left with lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught times R. So that is the answer to this particular question. So electric field E will be lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught times R. So this is the magnitude, and regarding direction, it is directed radially outward if this charge is positive and inward if this charge is negative, normal to the surface of cylinder. So that will be the answer to this question. Let's see next question. 2.20. I am reading the question for you. Two charged conducting spheres of radii A and B are connected to each other by a wire. That wire is a conductor. What is the ratio of electric fields at the surfaces of the two spheres? This is the question. See students, here first concept that you have to use, that whenever two conductors are connected by a wire, their potentials must be same. Suppose this is conductor number 1, this is conductor number 2. So potential of these two conductors must become equal. So whenever two charged conductors, it is given these two are charged conducting spheres. When they were not connected, they might be having different potentials. Potential formula is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by A. But when they are connected, some charge might flow from here to here or here to here. The charge will flow from higher potential to lower potential. The positive charge will flow. So because of flow of charge, there will be redistribution of charges. After it has settled down, suppose the charge on the first sphere be q, I will write qa, and on the second sphere it is qb. Their radii are A and B. So the potentials of the two spheres become equal. This implies I can write 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, potential of surface 1 on surface 1. It's charged by its radius. So qa upon Ra. This will become 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught times qb upon Rb. Is it clear, students? So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught will cancel, and what will be left is this: qa upon Ra is equal to qb upon Rb. Now this is known to us. What do you have to find? We have to find the ratio of electric fields. So electric field at the surface of first sphere by electric field at the surface of second sphere, E1 by E2 we have to find. So E1 will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught charge QA by radius square. It's not RA and RB, it's A and B. E2 will be how much? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught charge on that sphere by radius square. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught cancels. Now this we can write as QA by A square into B square upon QB. So here we have a QA upon QB term, QA by QB. So QA by QB will be how much? A by B. And what is left? B square upon A square. So one of them will cancel. So what remains behind is B by A. So electric field will be inversely related to the radius. E1 by E2 is radius of 2 by radius of 1. So electric field we say is inversely proportional to the radius, and it is for this reason. Now this you have to explain. There is a second part in this question. I will not discuss that part. Using this idea you have to answer that particular question. Just result I will point it out. If you have a surface like this which is pointed, and if you have a surface like this, both of them have suppose same charge q. Here at the vicinity of this pointed end, the electric field will be more. This is what is asked in this question, and where the surface is not very pointed, the electric field will be less. That has to be answered based on this particular argument. Okay. Next I would like to discuss question number 29, 2.29 of the additional exercise. This is regarding a spherical capacitor. I am reading the question for you. A spherical capacitor consists of two concentric spherical conductors held in position by suitable insulating supports, so that the capacitance of a spherical capacitor is given by this formula: 4 pi epsilon naught R1 times R2 by R1 minus R2, where R1 and R2 are the radii of outer and inner spheres. See students, you have learned how to derive the capacitance formula for a parallel plate capacitor. You have got the answer A epsilon naught by D. So there are three steps. First you have to find electric field between the plates of the capacitor. Second, you have to find potential difference using the formula V is equal to minus integration E dot dr from one point to the other. And third point, use the formula Q is equal to CV to obtain C as Q by V. This plate is positively charged, so it has a positive charge uniformly distributed on its inner surface. So here we have plus uniformly distributed, and here we have minus. So clearly the electric field will be like this. Likewise you can draw at different points. First you have to find electric field. To find electric field, we shall take into consideration the Gauss law. So we will draw a Gaussian surface in the form of a sphere. We will use the concept of symmetry. Many times we have discussed this. At all the points on the Gaussian surface, the electric field must have same value, and it is directed radially inward. You can see the direction from plus to minus. That will be the direction of electric field. dr vector will be outward. Clear? So we will use Gauss law. Integral E dot ds will be 1 by epsilon naught times q in. Now E vector is directed inward, ds vector will be directed outward. We know, students, that the direction of ds vector or area vector is along the outward normal. So E dot ds, what it will become? It will become E times ds times cos 180. and that will become 1 by epsilon naught times q in. What is q in? Q in is the charge inside this Gaussian surface, that is minus q. So cos 180 will become minus 1. This was integral. E is uniform, so E will come out. So minus E, then integral ds will become 4 pi r square. This distance is r, the radius of the Gaussian surface, r square, and that is how much? Minus 1 by epsilon naught times q. So negative sign will cancel, and this gives us the value of electric field as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r square. So what is the direction of this electric field? This is directed radially inward, and its value is how much? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. So this is our step number 1. Next, step number 2, we have to find v. V will be how much? Minus integration E dot dr from where to where? Now see, what is V? V is the potential difference between the plates of the capacitor. So this V is nothing but potential of the higher potential plate minus potential of the lower potential plate. That is V plus minus V minus, potential of outer sphere minus potential of inner sphere. So outer minus inner, final minus initial. So outer is final, inner is initial. So here we have to write the limits from initial to final. So we will write it from R2. Inner sphere has radius R2 to R1. R1. Now E vector, I told it is directed radially inward. Dr vector is radially outward. The angle between them is 180 degree. So this becomes minus integration R2 to R1 E times dr times cos 180 degree. Cos 180 is minus 1. That minus, this minus becomes plus. Now put the value of E. E is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square multiplied by dr, and the integral is from R2 to R1. This is our V. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught and q, I can take it out. What will be left behind? Integration dr by r square. Now what is integration dr by r square? That is minus 1 by r. So we'll put minus here and here 1 by r. And what will be the limits? Limits will be from R2 to R1. So put the value. This becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught with a negative sign, and then here we have 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. So minus, I can take it inside, then this will flip, it becomes R2 and this becomes R1. So we can take LCM, this will become R1 into R2, and here we will have R1 minus R2. So this is our V. So our step number 2 is also finished. Now third step is to find C using this formula. Here we have missed Q. So how will you find C? C is equal to how much? Q upon V. Q upon V. So this denominator will go to the upper end, that is 4 pi epsilon naught R2 into R1, and at the denominator we will have R1 minus R2, and this is what we had to prove. So this is an important question, students, and here this is called a spherical capacitor. Likewise we can have cylindrical capacitor or other types of capacitor. Whenever you have to find the capacitance, remember there are chiefly 3 important steps. First step is to find the electric field between the plates of the capacitor. In parallel plate capacitor also we have used the same concept. Then after finding electric field, the second step is to find the potential difference between the plates using this formula, minus integration E dot dr from higher potential to lower potential. And then third one, we will use Q is equal to CV to determine C in terms of Q by V, and that will give us the answer. So students, I will stop here. Today I tried to discuss some of the questions from additional exercises. So your assignment will be to do the remaining questions on your own, and if you have some queries, please put them in the query link given in your school's website. So till then, take care, solve the questions. So home assignment will be the additional exercises, remaining questions of additional exercise. Take your time, but do each and every question from the additional exercise as well as the main questions from 2.1 to 2.11. Thank you, students. Read well.